Hello and welcome to this EFAcast, where I talk to directors of festivals that are about to happen around Europe. And today I'm very pleased to be talking to Margareta Ferek Petrić, who is the director of the Zagreb Biennale, which is one of the oldest and one of the most distinguished new music and contemporary music festivals in Europe. Margareta, this edition, starting very soon, is the 60th anniversary of the festival. I mean, inevitably being the Biennale, that makes it the 31st edition. And you've called it Reconstruction. And that, I think, is an interesting idea. So tell me a little bit about that sense of heritage and at the same time, that sense of something very new.
Well, the fact was that this edition must happen in a completely new way, as it has never happened before. And, well, you know, it's not only the pandemic. I mean, only, it's a bit crazy to say only, it's enough, the pandemic. But in Zagreb, we also suffered devastating earthquakes, and it got complicated. It really got complicated with extremely hard measures and simple facts that you are not able to do some stuff which you would be able to do normally, and you're not able to use some places until they get reconstructed. So actually, it was somehow the whole construction of the festival end products took a while. I feel like I have not organized, but like in my mind, I have done 3 ways of programming, you know, like somehow for 3 editions, not exactly, but it was really an ongoing process that never stopped for months now, maybe a year actually, because it's the year from the first earthquake. And one thing was clear for me. I wanted to make some kind of continuum. So actually, if you see the full name of the festival, it's a continuum reconstruction. At the same way, you have a line that follows us through our anniversary edition, but also you have like a construction of blocks that are now present in this new form of Biennale. So the blocks are divided through timeline from April till September. And actually, in my mind, I want it all to happen. It must happen. But you have to be aware that if something, from some reason, again, doesn't work out, then you may reconstruct it to another block and maybe have a chance to give the artists and the audience a chance to see the project. If from some reason, you never know, something happens in May, then July is our hope.
Would the festival normally happen over 6 months, or would it normally be compressed into something much shorter?
Yeah, that is a fact actually, that this form is completely new, reconstructed. It would be this typical festival atmosphere, really, really intense in April. This is the tradition of Biennale. Every second year in April, for 7, 8, 9, depending on year, days, you have a really full program. This festival atmosphere is something nothing else could like give, like this reconstruction in 4 blocks. And I know I will miss it. And I will also not know it, how it is. It's my first Biennale, and I will have no idea what it means to have a really big festival in 1 week. But I think, on the other hand, you know, we all know that from experiences when we visit the festivals, you never make it to every event. I mean, there is always something that bothers me. Oh, I will not make it from point A to point B to the point C, where there's something different going on that would interest me. So I take it as a positive side. The program is intense, but it's divided. So you have more chance, you have more peace actually for the program itself through these blocks that are represented.
Now, the weird time that we're in of the virus pandemic means that not only the shape of the festival has changed, but also the way it's transmitted and who's in it has changed, so that you've got a position where an awful lot of it now is online, supposed to be happening physically to an audience. And at the same time, normally you would have many more international musicians taking part, and this time it's very much from Croatia. Is that right?
Well, actually, I would say we have quite a good percentage of international guests because we also made some international cooperations. But what I really wanted to be sure is that people can travel. So I did not take anybody from overseas, for example. For me, it was logical to stick to the Europe, to the neighbors, to the Europe countries. And the fact that a lot of programs, especially now in the first block that's coming up in April, are online is something that has two sides, On one side, we all suffer, we all miss that we don't have this social exchange, this fact that you get into the concert and just give your attention for 1 hour or two to one stage, your ears, your energy, everything is for that here. This is something different in online. I personally have a bit of a problem of attention when I follow online events. I do follow them, but it's different. But the bright side of it, I have also noticed this bright side as a composer. You get great recordings. And this is what ensembles need, what musicians need, what composers need. And it somehow opened up a space of like virtual reality that offers much higher quality. Because, of course, if you are a festival, you want a good quality for your stream, for your recordings. And this stays in our hands forever. Everybody involved in the project will be actually invited to use it as much as they want in their online presence, homepages, social media, and so on. So I would say there are like really two sides of this virtual online programming.
The other great thing about it, of course, is that contemporary music is always complained about, to say that it's just a niche thing for a very small group of people. And we've all been to contemporary composers' concerts where there's the composer, their friends, 2 dogs, and 5 other people. And this way, in a way, gets round that problem because it's available to the whole world.
Exactly. I mean, you can reach an amazing amount of audience like that. And I mean, it's not only with concerts. I'm actually quite happy we organized a great masterclass for composers. And also there are two sides. It would be great to have these great composers that are invited in Zagreb. I really wanted to show them the city. We wanted all to feel this festival's atmosphere live and have the involved students of the masterclass here. But on the other hand, now maybe it's more open to the whole world because a person from US might not have a chance to come to Zagreb in April in 21 under any circumstances. So yeah, it opened up a bit to all the continents.
Now, you're a successful composer yourself, but I noticed that you haven't done what some composers might want to do, which is to fill the festival with your own music. You're mostly going to be there as a coordinator and as an interviewer very often. But your choice of composers, I'd be interested to know whether you've picked composers you particularly like, or whether you've picked composers you just think we should all hear.
I think it's probably a mixture, At first, I want to say, I mean, for me, it's a divided role. Me as an artistic director, I have a perspective of a composer in this role in my head, but in reality, I do not want to be an egomaniac who fills the program with my pieces, because I am grateful that my pieces are played really enough all around. So I don't need that. I think also it's important for the festival that the artistic director stays in the clear position. So this was, for me, it was clear from the beginning. When it comes to the composers, I picked, there are different processes how that happens, actually. At one side, on one side, you have the 60th anniversary. So I took the archives and I got through them and checked a bit who were important personalities besides those that I knew. Of course, there are a lot of informations I think you have to go through to make good decisions. And then I realized there are some composers that simply they themselves have anniversaries. It was Croatian people who are important for the history of this country, of this music. So it was clear that they deserved a place in the program. On the other hand, I didn't want to stay in this tradition of our country. I wanted to open up a window to the whole new spectrum of interesting young people, or young 35, 40, I'm in that age now, I think we're still young. It doesn't matter for a composer. You are old when you're dead, 100 years first. So this process of choosing composers actually happens a lot also with by talking to the artists, to the musicians and ensembles that I invite. Because I think it's not only my wish that must happen in the program, but I choose ensembles and musicians because I respect what they do, and I really want this communication with them to make a plan. How do you want to present yourself? I think this is really important for the festival, to give this energy, to give this feeling to the artists. Who do you want to be on stage if you come as our guest? So it's a mixture.
One of the things that I love about your program is that even though I've been in the business pretty well all my life, there are about 80% of the composers I've never heard of. And I think that's quite an achievement, because it shows that there's a whole eclectic world out there that actually we're not normally, in the normal process of reviewing repertoire, we're not hearing from. And I wondered whether you could take us through some of the names that you are particularly keen that we should have heard of.
We can go. This will go on for a really long time if we go into details. But of course, I can imagine that some Croatian names are not really so famous throughout the world, but are still really great, interesting young people. We have also students, actually, or just fresh out of uni, that I really wanted to give chance to right now after uni or in the middle of it, to know what is the context of such a big festival, to compose for it. So of course those names you've never heard of, but I'm sure if you go through the program, and for example, I found interesting to present Zagreb Petzold recorder. This instrument, it has been as guest within one other project a few years ago, but nobody knows how Petzold recorder really looks like in Zagreb. I would say, as much as I heard information from other people. So I made some kind of research. What kind of pieces do we have for this instrument? And there is a pool of amazing compositions. So many people have written for it. But since I decided to invite the Austrian player Gobi Drab, I also asked her what's her actual state of mind, which pieces would you like to play? And I remembered that an old great colleague of mine who I've studied with Haja Černovin, Onur Dulger, wrote a great piece for this instrument and electronics, and it was clear for me. Gobi played it. This person, I know that he's a great composer. It's this what I want to do in my festival, somehow invite personalities who I've came in contact along the way, and they stayed in my head as interesting personalities. They definitely deserve to be in Biennale's program. I don't know which other composers would be so, let's say, unknown to the greater public, because we have a lot of composers who are connected with the ensemble who is actually playing. So if you take a look at the Black Page Orchestra program, you have a lot of names that they work with for a while now, and they're all really extremely bold and extremely with no prejudice to different kinds of sounds. And this was also somehow a term that I took to choose the program. If you go further into some solo concerts that at the end only happen online, I really took time to check this repertoire. Of course, I know a lot of pieces for different, solos or ensembles, but I really heard all the pieces in my head through, and I decided, like a little puzzle, what fits together. And the fact that not everybody is the most famous composer in the world, I really don't care. I think we are here to give everybody a stage voice.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and say, okay, from this huge panoply of composers that you've arranged for this year's festival, looking perhaps at the younger ones, at the student ones, is there, don't want to, what you might call, cut out the other ones, but are there 2 or 3 composers, do you think, that in 20 years' time will always all be really proud to have heard this early in their careers?
So I have to point out names.
Yes.
But I don't want to.
Please do.
No, I think it's hard to know right now. If you take a look at everyone in the program, we should all keep up to date with what they're doing. I mean, if you take a look at this Black Page Orchestra program, you have Croatian people, Ivana Kuljarić, Alen and Nenad Sinkhaus. Those people deserve to be on world stages with everything they do. So if you take a look at, I mean, he's already on world stages, but he's from a neighbor country, Vito Juraj, in the organ concerts. I think he's going to make definitely into the legendary list of composers one day. If you take a look at Cantus Ensemble, which is the oldest and actually only contemporary music ensemble in Croatia, there is one young composer. She's fresh from uni in Lyon. Actually, she studied with Martin Matalon after she finished in Zagreb. Helena Sklarov. She has amazing ideas. I really look forward to see how she develops, what's coming next. I'm really actually excited about her pieces. And we could go on, like in every, if you want the younger ones, in every program, there are 1 or 2 like those. But it's always a bit hard to put out names because I love all these personalities who I gave commission to. And life is really a strange place, so anything can happen. I know people who stopped composing. I know people who didn't have success later on, although they were great. So let's just follow them, let's just give everybody a chance.
I see your festival finishes in September with an opera by Berislav Sipus called rather splendidly The Final Intermezzo from the Croatian National Theatre. Tell me something about that, because it looks like rather a fascinating opera, since it's got a very complicated libretto by the look of it.
Yes, well, actually, the opera is also the most complicated part to put on stage in the pandemic. So this is also the reason why we put it as the last part of the block. And the original idea was to have quite a bigger number of musicians and choir singers, and it's a bit of a pity for the composer Berislav Sipus. It's a bit limited, of course, because we are not sure which kind of measures will be in September, and we had to minimize a bit the whole stage number of people on stage. But I think it's an important work for Croatian literature, because this kind of big opera in a state opera house it's only possible within this kind of festival. And actually Biennale in former decades had more chance, more budgets to produce and reproduce these kind of works. So it was now quite a while that we didn't have a co-production with an opera house in Zagreb, and I'm really glad that in 21 we refreshed somehow this working together. And I think it's going to be a big bump for the literature of Croatian music, opera literature. It's really important. There is an amazing team, director who is working very closely with the composer. The composer actually conducts himself. So it is going to be a very personal work, I think.
Just for information to people, the most extraordinary thing about the libretto is it's assembled from many different sources and texts, not just written by one particular playwright. So that really brings us to the end. Thank you very much, Margareta, for a wonderful discussion about the 31st edition of the Zagreb Biennale Music Festival, and may it be going on till the 120th edition. Thank you very much.
Yes, I hope. Thank you very much, Simon. Goodbye.